Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the Season 15 Patch 14 Notes Rundown. I'm tired of saying it the way that Riot has basically written it and whatnot. It's just very confusing. Everyone thinks of it in the way that I just said it. Anyways, we are going to move straight into it. This is the Yunara patch, and Yunara, it's quite interesting. I did get to playtest her. She's been nerfed considerably since then. She is one of the first champions that League has released in a really long time, which is just generic, literally plays exactly to her identity, and I think everyone's just going to be really happy with her, both playing against her and playing as her. So let's jump into it. So the patch highlights, there's not a whole lot that is going on here. This is immediately after MSI is coming to an end. We have Summer Split on the horizon. We have a bunch of other stuff going on, but all right, here we go. Champions, Azir, base health increase, W damage increase. Base health is going up by a flat 25, W rise 40 to 60% AP to 45 to 65% AP. So when he gets his first item, I mean, his soldiers are doing, 5 more damage on hit, then it goes through resistances, and then after resistances probably ends up dealing like 3 or something like that. So does add up a little bit, even inside of early laning phase, nothing is really happening. There's even some lanes where Azir just gets boots super early on and doesn't even get AP. So nothing really happening for Azir, but obviously his late game power is going up. Braum, base armor is decreased. Going to make some of the counter picks against him a little bit better. Just in the auto attack for the enchanters, he'll have a little bit more damage on him inside of the laning phase. For non-Braum counters, obviously they hit a little bit harder now. It doesn't really matter end of the day. Briar, R cleanse change, Q bug fix, R certain death. CC is cleansed when the missile hits. Briar is cleansed when the missile hits and is now immune to CC for 1.25 second cast animation. This is interesting in that she could, in theory, cast this now during fights in order to be CC immune. So even if it's a point blank R, there is, in theory, some merit to it. In some situations, I could see that happening. Bug fix, totally fine. Darius, Q heal is increased. Decimate, 15 to 45. 1, 2, 3 targets to 17 to 51. 1, 2. Oh, it's targets. I thought it was levels before when I was looking at the preview. Okay, so the target, even going up by 2% of the missing health heal. Now, super early on inside a laning phase, let's say that you're missing 500 health. Okay, you're missing 500. You're getting an extra 10 now on the decimate heal. Now, if you end up getting this, 3-4 times inside of laning phase, well, you're not missing 500 HP every single time. Typically early on when you're landing decimate, maybe you're missing 100, maybe you're missing 200. We're talking about very negligible amounts. He's probably getting an auto attack in first laning phase, and then later in mid game and late game, when he's missing especially a lot more HP, we're actually talking about Darius potentially getting a lot of HP. Upwards of like a ruby crystal extra now per decimate, which is very big because that's a giant's belt worth of HP. Very nice. Fiora, our healing per second increased. Visual bug fixes. Heal per second is now going up to 100% always. Very big. Makes grievous wounds against her actually a little bit more necessary depending on certain matchups. Obvious healing circles now effect now persists for the full 5 seconds duration. No gameplay change. Very nice. Fizz. W cooldown reduced at higher ranks. EAP scaling is increased. WC Stone Trident. This is a fake buff because anyone who plays Fizz knows this is completely a fake buff because if you last hit the minion, then you get everything back anyway. And if you're on top of the enemy champion, because Fizz builds so much ability haste, the W is permanently up anyway. The only thing that this ends up doing, because you're going to max E first anyway, and then typically there's differences between regions where some Fizzes max W second and some Fizzes max Q second. With this, it's sort of whatever. E Playful Trickster, the ability power is actually going up by 5%. Now, again, I don't know if this creates any breakpoints on the CSing. That is always the immediate question. If Fizz now can actually kill the wave because of this, it changes everything. So for instance, people might have seen that I tweeted actually not too long ago about a Fiddlesticks change, which was the AP to his W drain, and it ended up getting buffed twice. And what ended up happening is, because of the additional buffs, if Fiddlesticks goes Blackfire Torch, his W now one-shots the wave without having to use E or having to throw out auto attack. So he saves a lot of time. And because he saves so much time, he can also reposition inside of the wave a little bit differently and all this other good jazz and all this other stuff. And then in addition to that, his damage was increased as well. Now, in the earlier stages of the laning phase, it also allowed you to now shove the wave with just EW faster than you were able to before without having to rely on auto attacks or the second W in the first place. This does a lot of really cool things for Fiddle inside of lane. Likewise, Alawi got a change once upon a time with AD ratio on the Tentacle Smash, and it allowed her to start shoving at level 7. Once upon a time, Cho'Gath ended up getting a change to his base damage, and the change to the base damage made it so that he no longer needed Lost Chapter plus a Dark Seal or an Amp Tome in order to rupture at level 7 and kill all of the melees with Humax first. Changes like this are only big and important in the event that it alters the speed at which the champion gets to play the game or create options for themselves. And so if the 5% affects Fizz's wave clear, that's a really big deal. If it doesn't, it's a fake change, because 5% on a champion that has to build massive amounts of utility items like Zanya's Hourglass and like Lichbane and all these other types of items, etc., not going to be having the best of times. Kled. All abilities are adjusted. This almost deserves its own look. Passive Skarl, the Cowardly Lizard, dismounted Kled auto attack damage against champions 80% to 85 to 100% at levels 1, 6, 11, 16, so he has more scaling. Skarl health 400 to 1550 and to 400 to 1400. Stat progression linear, okay. Courage gain from minion last hits is going up by 1. Dismounted speed boost acquisition range 1000 to 1200. Dismounted movement speed reduction is now going down to minus 40, so he's actually a little bit faster. Dismounted bonus movement speed towards enemy champions is, however, going down. So actually, okay, so this is going down. This is going down, so while he's running away, but he's still actually going to be overall slower while running towards enemy champions. There's no way around that. Okay. Okay. Skarl health gained on remount is going to be 45 to 75 to 40 to 70%. Courage from takedowns 20 is 0. Skarl health is now granted at the beginning of the remount sequence upon gaining 100 courage rather than at the end of the remount sequence. Interesting. Dismounted Kled now gains 1% bonus HP as armor and magic resistance. What? Dismounted Kled now gains 1% bonus HP. What? Increased by 20% for each nearby. What is... I'm trying to think like what the math is on this with what he builds, and I can't do it off the top of my head. Q-mounted Bear Trap on a rope. Initial hit bonus 65 to 60%. Okay. Slow 40 to 60%, 30 to 50%. Slow duration 1.5 to 2.5. Very nice. That's very big, actually. He weaves in a lot more auto attacks. Okay. Wow. That's very big. Now calculates pull damage on pull rather than when the tether is attached. Now checks a small error. That's very nice. Okay. Pull timer is now consistently exactly 1.75 seconds. This is a very big change that Swain ended up getting once upon a time. Q dismounted pocket pistol. Ammo charge retime 20 to 7.5 seconds based on level to 18 to 10 seconds based on ability rank. Okay, so obviously this is it's a temporary buff that ends up becoming a nerf later. Okay, damage per pellet. Damage per pellet 35 to 95, 80% bonus AD to 35 to 95 plus 65. So he's losing a lot of damage when he's dismounted. Now check small area around Kled 0 point before the missile is fired to hit champions. Okay. W violent tendencies. Damage is gonna be okay 20 to 60 plus 4 to 6.5 plus 1% per 20 bonus AD of target's max health. Okay. To 20 to 60 to 6.5 plus 1% per 50 bonus AD. Okay, so 1% per 50 bonus instead of 20, plus 1% per 250 bonus health. So now, when he builds Black Cleaver, okay, so building Black Cleaver is going to give him more. Well, hold on. Per bonus AD. Okay, wait, hold on. So Black Cleaver, he would have gotten 2% from that anyway. Now he's going to get a little bit more than just 2%. And now when he builds Sterix, he's actually going to get more. Okay, so Bruiser Kled is actually going to be a menace. Cooldown 11 to 5 to 13 to 9. That is obviously a lot higher. Attacking enemies with violent tendencies on cooldown only starts the W sequence. Okay. E jousting damage 35 to 135, 65% AD to 35 to 135, 55% bonus AD. Okay. So they're nerfing some of his numbers, but then they're making his scaling a lot scarier, is basically what's going on, mostly because of violent tendencies and the changes above. R charge minimum damage 4 to 6% plus 4% per 100 bonus AD of target's max health to 4 to 8%. Okay. Plus 3% per 100 bonus AD of target's max health. Okay, so they're giving him more upfront damage, even at... Okay, well, actually, no. It's going to be tied in mid-game, but then late game, depending on build, he'll have more. Maximum damage 12 to 18 plus 12% per... Okay, target's max to 12 to 18 and 24. So so it's a buff early on. It's a buff early on because champions naturally have lower magic resistance than armor. And so when he hits you, initially, it's just dealing way more damage. So even though he's missing damage early on because he needs time to scale up and stuff, his R makes up for it in lane, which is really big. Okay, that is huge. Okay, so Kled is getting a lot of really cool changes. Lee Sin, base AD is decreased. Fake. Riven, passive AD ratio damage is decreased late passive running play, 36% based on level, 30-50% Twitter 1. Sett armor growth is decreased. Whippo is going to be very, very, very sad. It goes both ways. He loses more HP faster, and thus he gets regen back quicker, and so it's because of the amount of armor that he's losing, it's probably very close to balancing out overall, but it's overall a nerf late game in team fights. That's the way to look at it. Twisted Fate Q damage is decreased. Nice. He did not win a game at MSI. Very cool. Yasuo AD growth is decreased by 0.5, but he's getting buffed in this patch via an item, so he's overall going to be buffed no matter what. Yuumi, our heal per hit is decreased. Our final chapter, 30-50, 15% AP to 30-50 plus 10% AP. So missing 5% AP, but Yuumi doesn't get a whole lot of AP, so she's probably just missing like 5 realistically at the end of it per hit. So very negligible amount of healing, even with the amplified healing from like Moonstone and stuff. Ziggs. Q damage is increased late, E damage increased late, R damage is adjusted, APA is going to be back in summer. Q bouncing bomb is going up massively, 15% AP. So even though it's going down by a flat 5, that does not matter. It literally doesn't matter. From the first reset alone is basically just going to be a buff. So Q bouncing bomb going to be dealing a lot more damage. E hex explosive mine per damage is also going to just go up massively, 15% AP. What the hell? He's getting 30% AP in his whole combo. Well, no, it's 15% per mine. Oh my god! If you hit 3 mines, 45% AP ratio. What? I'm stun locked. 300 to 600, 110% AP to 300 to 700. So the base damage is going up, but it's losing. You would need over 1,000 AP for this to matter. You need 1,000 AP for this to be like. What is going on, man? Why did he just get buffed? You need 500 AP for the. Nah, it doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't even make sense. It just does not even, it makes absolutely no sense. Why is Ziggs, okay, I don't even understand. Zoe, Q and W damage is decreased. Good. She is extremely strong, so that's nice to see. She's losing, so she's losing 15 off, but she's getting 5% AP, in order to get in order to get the 5% AP back, you know, I mean, if she's building AP, she will end up seeing it. Eventually, right? She'll end up like getting really close to that number again. But if she supports Zoe, it's going to be very difficult. Paddle Star damage, I think, is now going to affect her wave clear again. And so there is that. Okay. Plus, oh wait, based on level. Okay, yeah. Everything's fine here. Blade of the Ruin King. Okay, melee 8.5 to 9.6 for melee ranged. They do this all the time with Blade of the Ruin King. Do not overreact. Yes, certain champions are going to be buffed by it. Mastery, you're going to be buffed by this a lot. But again, think about it practically. When you complete this item, typically champions have, 1,200, 1,100 HP. So you hit them, you're doing 1% more. So because you're doing 1% more, first you hit them for 12, okay? Then their HP goes down dramatically. Maybe you hit them with an ability. Now they're at like 900, okay? Now you hit them for 9, so 12 plus 9, we're at 21, okay? Then, you hit them again. Now they're at 500. You hit them one more time, 5, okay, 26 more damage, okay? Then they're even lower. You hit them again. Maybe they're at 300. You did 3 more damage, 29. 29 extra damage against a 1,200 HP target that then has to go through resistances. Yes, it's a change. Yes, it's a buff. Yes, it's a much nicer buff that's going to add a couple, 100 damage versus like tanks or bruisers in extended fights or something. Well, not a couple hundred, but like 100, ish, like 150-ish, 200, like something in that ballpark. It is a buff, yes, nothing to overreact to. Maximum Haunting Eyes is an inventory 6 to 1, okay, doesn't matter. Kraken Slayer going down by 100. Damn Pants on Missing Health is going up. Very specific item for very specific champions. If ADCs build this, they're griefing. Phantom Dancer is going up by 5%. Movement speed is up by 2%, which is almost magical boots for a lot of Phantom Dancer's users. Especially for champions that can utilize magical boots and stuff, and they already have this, and they're now getting another free magical boots for free. Attack speed going up, very big buff for Garen. Rod of Ages going up by 100 mana. Mana per stack is going up by 30, so another 100 mana. So 200 more mana for Ryze, Victor, all these fun champions. Also Kassadin, maximum mana is going up by 200. So really nice buffs for Kassadin, Ryze, Victor, like these types of champions. Kassadin obviously got nerfed recently, and so now his R is going to gain access to more damage. Guardian, shield is going to go up, which is very nice. The bonus HP doesn't really matter because typically the enchanters that take the Guardian aren't really building bonus HP. Okay, cool. Unsealed Spellbook, Smite is now being nerfed. Finally, I was actually trying to find me talking about Unsealed Spellbook like a year or 2 years ago, etc., calling it one of the most misunderstood runes, etc., people calling for its head, saying, have it removed and all this other stuff. And then this MSI, we get a completely placebo buff, and we know that it's placebo because if you go into the games, you actually watch the timings of the changes of the runes and whatnot, you realize that the buffs had nothing to do with any of the outcomes that were happening. Ergo, the rune was always competitively viable. People just weren't using it, and Riot had to come in and force them to use it. And that is basically the way of the land, as it is in modern-day League of Legends, and so that's where we're at. Spellbook, smite thing, totally fine. I do think that sometimes it was a little bit gross to have Chilled Spellbooks on your team with the jungle, and you can do a triple smite. I think that's really gross. Yeah, it makes it very, very hard to win the smite, even in smite fights. Bounties from farming is going to be nerfed. Arena, okay. Champions on Arena, very cool. And then miscellaneous, and then this is all like arena changes. And then we have the skins. So let's take a look at the skins. All right, so this is the Yunara splash. Obviously, this is meant to pay for worlds, and I think that it will. So very cool. It looks like chocobos in the background. If any of you guys were playing Final Fantasy, that looks like a Moogle, actually, in the top right. Looks like a Moogle, not a chocobo. That Moogle has a big butt. Look at that butt. Look at that butt. That Moogle does squats at the gym, and you know it. That is exactly what's going on here. And then we move on to the second skin. This is Nightbringer. What is this? Nightbringer Hecarim. Looks absolutely crazy. Dante is going to be extremely excited with this. Maybe it will be able to help him surpass Nikic inside of the jungle. Then we have, is this Nightbringer Yuumi? Finally becoming the demon that everyone has always thought that she is. And obviously she's over here like drawing one of those pentagram type things and whatnot. And yeah. And then this is the Dawnbringer Callista. So the champion that basically was a complete problem, all of MSI, should not be picked. One of the worst in the entire game. Gets one of the most beautiful skins in the entire game. And then we see the skins here. Honestly, this kind of looks like if Waka from Final Fantasy X had a wife. This would be really cool. This literally looks like she's holding chocobos. This literally looks like a chocobo skin. She is literally throwing chocobos. Yunara. Like, what is going on here? This is one of the sickest skins ever. This should have been a Mordekaiser skin. How is this not a Mordekaiser? How is this not a Mord skin? What? Wow, this is so sad. How is this not a Mordekaiser skin? Okay. And then Yuumi does actually quite look evil, and I think that they captured this really well. And Callista, yeah. So if you want to play a night elf that dies first, that is Callista. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on the FlyQuest YouTube channel. And next week, the Surrounded video that I ended up filming in LA with a lot of people that showed up, asked questions, challenged me on certain things, lots of topics, etc., will also be coming out on the channel. You can expect that next week, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.